My special guest today is Dr. Heather Cleland, who is Director of the Victorian Adult Burns Service. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You've co-authored, along with many others, some research on the Burns Registry of Australia and New Zealand.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about what you did and why you did it.
So the paper is really just designed for us to have an initial look at the first 5 years of data in our registry, and because it was an exploratory preliminary benchmarking kind of process, we chose 4 major factors, sort of relatively big picture things in the scheme of burns care to examine in order to really see whether there were differences not only in treatment but in outcomes between the units.
Okay. I think you found some interesting differences between units, between Australia and New Zealand.
It does indicate that we have significant differences not only in inputs but in outcomes.
Yeah.
And we really need to get a better understanding of what the influences are. I think it is highly likely that some aspects of our treatment that we deliver to burns patients are not as good as other aspects. And so the idea of the registry, because we have such centralised burn care in Australia and New Zealand, is to enable comparisons to be made between the statewide burn services. So
tell us what you found in terms of length of stay and mortality.
So we did find differences when corrected for the things that we know influence those outcomes. So age of patient, size of burn, presence of inhalation injury, those kinds of factors, they were corrected for. And we did find significant differences between length of stay, for example, so about a 2-day difference between the best performing units and the worst, in inverted commas, performing units.
Yeah.
And similarly, we did find differences between the lowest and the highest rates of mortality between units.
Given you've corrected for those known factors, what do you think's going on?
Well, there may be other factors that we're not correcting for, and it may be that there are differences in treatments that really do have significant outcomes, influences on outcomes. So these measures, and BRANZ is a clinical quality registry. It's got 19 quality indicators embedded in it. We sort of view them as flags rather than as black and white, you know, this unit is doing much worse than that unit. So it's a flag that we need to really have a look at what units are doing and really then make some judgments about what might be influencing these outcomes. The registry is pretty much doing what we want it to do. I mean, obviously there are a lot more things that we would like it to do, and sustainability, you know, is an issue for us. We don't have any ongoing funding guaranteed for us at the moment, so the things that we obviously would like to do have to do with long-term outcomes, for example, which is a key component of any assessment of the adequacy of burn treatment, or most medical treatments really, but burn treatment in particular, because so much of it is about relatively long-term rehabilitation, scar management, you know, reintegration, that kind of thing. So we have done and published on a pilot, but we do need more resources to collect longer-term outcome data. But even, you know, just with our acute outcome information, there's a lot of work that we need to do on benchmarking and risk adjusting and just basic auditing of our data quality and those kinds of things that do take a lot of administrative resources to conduct, especially, you know, across the whole nation. This registry has been more than 10 years in the making, and these things don't happen overnight. I think we're pretty encouraged that we're progressing in the way that we have. And, you know, I think by and large, you know, we do deliver high standards of medical care to burns patients. The question is, can we do better? and do we understand what it is that, you know, results in the best possible outcomes for patients.
Tell us a bit about the Burns Quality Improvement Project.
So the BQIP, the Burns Quality Improvement Program, is really what makes sense of going to all this trouble to collect data from all of the statewide burn services, because obviously if you don't have a process in place to enable you to examine the variance and variation that you see in the data that we get from the registry, then there's no point in collecting it. So we would, we anticipate that BQIP will provide not only the data to support the identification of areas for improvement, but also that it will provide a sort of structure and resources to enable people to, in particular units, to conduct their own quality improvement processes. So that's also a work in progress, but now that we're starting to get this information from the registry, it's well underway.
If you were Queen for a day, what's the first thing you'd do in terms of not just the Burns Registry, but in Burns care generally?
Burns care is a really complex undertaking, not only from a surgical point of view and surgical logistics sort of planning for how to approach a patient with a major burn, but also in terms of all of the other inputs that need to go into looking after burns patients, so intensivists and infection control and infectious diseases people and all of the allied health, nutrition, physiotherapy, all of that kind of thing. And it is really, really complex and difficult to get a really good handle on what is the absolute best way to be doing this. So I would fund a registry that would help me sort out really what's going on and what the key components of good care are. We really can't, it's extremely difficult to conduct randomised controlled trials in burns patients. And the registry potentially provides us with enough data and a sufficiently robust and rich data to enable us to identify high performing units and then have a close look at what is it that they do.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I think that's about